Contradiction 27. Islam equals the two Muhammads. The last 2 decades has seen an escalation in the discourse about Islam. This has mainly been instigated by terror attacks around the world, such that a relatively unknown religion to most has introduced itself on the popular world stage with the face of violence. Now, I believe this to be very unfortunate. Radicals are often apt to be either true to their beliefs or distort them completely. I believe the same has occurred with Islam. Growing up in a country with a recognizable Muslim population, the presence of Islam was not really an issue. It was just another religion, and people could believe whatever they wanted to believe. After terrorist attacks became a global phenomenon, there was a reaction against Muslims, and they believed in violence, and were a people of hate. I would then think about the friends I went to school with and played football with. I saw no hate in them. They were just like me, but believed in something different. Oddly enough, the defense of Islam comes from the West. Islam is a peaceful religion. These radicals pervert an otherwise wonderful religion, and so on. Not that these responses to terrorism are wrong. They just come from the wrong people. I don't care what they think about Islam or these people. Should I say these Western people? I'm interested in what Muslims think about Islam. How on earth were Barack Obama and David Cameron ever meant to speak on behalf of Muslims? They couldn't. I just wouldn't believe them. What do they know? I need a Muslim to tell me what Islam says. The same applies to any other religion, Christianity or whatever. I'm not going to just listen to what people like Richard Dawkins say about it and then consider myself informed. No, I need to listen to a Christian, a Christian representation of their religion before I can have a balanced view. Anyway, since the main competing narrative about Islam is propagated from either the radicals or from Western leaders, I did to Islam exactly what I did to Christianity. I just went to its source. I've read much of the Quran and done a bit of studying about the life of their prophet Muhammad, the founder of Islam, and have concluded that the founder of Islam himself manifests the very duality that we see today. He was both passive and militant, depending on the stage of his ministry. Initially, he preached the peace and unity amongst the Arabs that I believe most Muslims adhere to. And this almost made him a sort of leader we would put in the same bracket as Jesus or the Buddha, a pacifist. He was then exiled to Medina, where he gathered a following and returned as a war leader, defeating the religious leaders in Mecca in combat and leading a religious war through the Arabian Peninsula. The subsequent leaders of the new religion simply carried on the work of his later life and conquered much of North Africa, Mesopotamia, basically around the area, for Islam. Thus, when Western leaders stand up and say of Islam that it is this or that, I personally do not take what they say seriously. When they say that Islam is a peaceful religion, what they actually mean is that most Muslims just want to be peaceful, and probably that they are inspired by the first part of their prophet's life. However, to say that military expansion has nothing to do with Islam and that radicals have perverted the religion and then leave the matter at that is also wrong. I look at the life of their prophet and something doesn't make sense about what these politicians believe. It is not as if radical Muslims picked up, The Art of War by Sun Tzu and mistakenly identified it for a religious text written by an Arab prophet. No. Their prophet used both words and the sword. So maybe Islam has violence in it. So what? There's violence and war in religion in general. And Islam is no exception. So, unlike most people, I'm not actually accusing Islam at all. It's a religion. There's violence associated with it. Or at least, there's nothing unusual about Islam in that respect. Nevertheless, my questions to Muslims are these. Number 1, which part of your prophet's life do you find most fundamental? And number 2, if aggression were to be used, and all religions use aggression in some sense, what would its aim be? It is these questions that I believe a Muslim is best placed to answer without the utterly, credulous and at times insulting representation by Western leaders. I'm not here to accuse or react to any narrative from these leaders about Islam. I think politicians say what they need to say. I simply ask, what Islam really is. I want to know what Islam really is, and so should anyone who wishes to find answers. Furthermore, even violence itself can have a just cause. So even if their Prophet Muhammad used violence, I'm not interested in what his aim was. After all, violence defeated Hitler, Napoleon, and other despots. He might have been doing good. Does Muhammad use violence to advance peace and unity and healing? Is there some wrong in the world that he wishes to put right? That is the real question. It is part of the radical narrative that Muslims are somehow oppressed by the West. Well, are they? Is it true that they're just fighting for their freedom? Have we left them no alternative than violence? Did Muhammad, their prophet, fight against something similar? Are Muslims justified to use the same means again today? Maybe they are, or maybe they aren't. But these are the right questions to